How do we understand each other better, just like with any relationship? And how do we work with each other, not against each other? Hi, I'm Anushka,
And I'm Saika.
and welcome to Girls That ADHD.
We're two ADHD therapists with ADHD here to help you laugh, rant, cry, and unmask your way through adulting with ADHD.
This season, we're back with more unhinged moments.
Except now with guests.
So buckle up, hit play at 2 times speed.
And come spiral with us as we make sense of our beautifully chaotic brains together. Today, we are diving a little more into relationships, specifically around loving someone with ADHD and everything that comes with that.
Sometimes it can be hard to be in a relationship with an ADHDer. I mean, look, have I dated anyone with ADHD? No. Do I know what it is like to date me? Also, not so much. But I've received feedback, and I feel like and this is around the time that we should probably start talking about it because it is hard. Like sometimes, like I feel bad, and I feel like I'm being a bit of not a burden, but I just know that there are little things that make relationshiping difficult. I guess I don't know. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say you got feedback because I've never gotten feedback, but it is more of an internal thing for me. Like, I think it's difficult being in a relationship with me, but no one's actually said it. Maybe they're scared of me. I don't know, but
Yeah. Actually, you know what it is? It's that now I'm in a relationship with an ADHDer. So like I feel like it's not that I get feedback necessarily. We just talk about the impact of our neurodivergence on the relationship and the implications of like what happens when we clash a little bit. And so it's not that I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but it's just that like or I'm able to notice my symptoms and how they impact us a little bit more. But that's because he tells me.
and I think that's actually better. Like, I would prefer that. Like, someone tell me exactly what is happening so that I can check myself and then be better rather than me going into a shame spiral and coming up with problems that may not actually be a problem and then work overtime or double time to fix them.
Rather than me having to sit here and guess what I've done wrong or what I could be doing better or improving, like just have the damn conversation with me, be direct about it. I will change it. I will change. Like I will, or we can work together to implement things, or I can help you to understand me better. But it is so hard being, I think, with somebody as an ADHD when they don't communicate directly with you around stuff because it builds up resentment, right?
It does, but also it's important to remember that we live in a world where people like they aren't direct with you. They expect you to read between the lines.
Let me read between the lines. I can barely read the lines. I have to go back. I've missed it as I was reading because it's a careless mistake. And I was thinking too far fast and reading too fast. So I have to go back and read it again. And then probably a fourth or fifth time because I missed it those 2 times too.
Well, I guess we just kind of went straight into the topic.
And I think, like, with this episode, it's not so much about, ADHD is difficult to be in a relationship with. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I also don't think it's a your partner
Mm.
should be endlessly patient with you episode either. I think it's a how do we understand each other better, just like with any relationship, and how do we work with each other, not against each other. And how do we understand each other a little bit better? So I guess like the question is, how does like ADHD actually show up in relationships? I feel like, I don't know, for me, one of the big things, more from a personal perspective, is time blindness. Like my time agnosia is shit. I can't estimate time. I can't see it. We could be leaving the house at a particular time and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I think because I've had more self-compassion with my diagnosis. So now I'm not rushing things anymore. And also because I've almost gotten into too many car accidents where I've been in a rush, that now I'm like, if I'm late, I'm late and it's fine. And I'm okay with that. I think my partner is somebody who needs to be on time to things. And one of the things that we spoke about recently was like, he was like, I know you struggle with it, but we need to like work on this because like he needs to be at things like 5 minutes early. And I was like, the compromise is that we get to things on time. So then it was like, okay, what do I do to work on that? And what can he do to support me with that as well? And so my thing for my time agnosia now is that like I'll set a timer for when we need to leave the house, basically, and then I'll like get ready between that time. But his thing is that he'll tell me what time we need to leave if we're going to something together. But he tells me like 10 minutes before the thing, and I set my alarm almost 10 minutes before the thing, before we have to leave, before the time he's given me essentially. So say we've got to like leave the house at 3:30 and he's like, we need to leave at 3:30. We probably really need to leave at 3:50 because he said 3:30. I've gone, let me like be ready by 3:20. And then the likelihood is that I am ready by 3:50. But, we've put things in place and that just helps us to like work with my brain and not so much against it. So it's stuff like that. Or like I just forget shit.
Yes. But also, like, I guess everything with the time blindness, the forgetting things, it sounds like it's more like figuring out how your brain works, being able to communicate that clearly without the shame spiral. And then I guess you and your partner are both trying to find
A
something
hundred
that works
percent.
for the both of you.
Yeah,
And
because it's like I always say, like with neurodivergence, it's an explanation, it's not an excuse, right? So, like, how can we adjust things? And we're not always going to be able to adjust stuff, but like in relationships, it is things like the time blindness, it is things like forgetting the plans, it is sometimes like ignoring or forgetting that your partner exists because they're off doing something and you have like you're engrossed in something else and you're like, oh, yeah, the love of my life exists somewhere. Like I'm aware of it. I was just really hyper fixated on my like work or hobbies or whatever.
this is such a big thing. Like, I am still single, but I'm like dating. And I swear to God, there was this conversation that I was having with someone who I think was interested in me. I don't know at this point. I've lost all hope. But he was kind of hinting that he likes me and he likes me consistently. And I was trying to explain to him the object permanence thing, where I was like, well, if you don't have like continuous conversations with me or continuous communication with me, I'm going to forget you. Like, I and he was so hurt and I was like, I don't know how to explain this to you.
It's like I love you, but sometimes I get like you're always on my mind because when I do things, I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's done this thing today. Like today, it's really hot, so I'm like, I've drank water. I wonder if he's drank enough water. But I'm like, but if like you're busy and you're doing stuff and I'm busy and I'm doing stuff, sometimes it's not that I forget that you exist. I just all of my emotions about you they get like locked up and then I see you and then I warm up again and then I'm like, whoa, I love you. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
You have all the big feelings.
Yeah. I still don't know how to express that to someone who has no idea what all these terms mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. And it's being misunderstood and you're like, I've hurt someone's feelings now and I didn't mean to do that. And it's like you're not trying to be mean or rude about things. It's just like trying to explain how your brain works sometimes. It's like yeah. It's like I don't understand it all that well. The other thing that I've seen come up with a lot of my clients recently is that it is the little things within the ADHDer that slowly leads to resentment creeping in. Because, like, for example, I have a client that are a couple that come in to see me, and they were talking about how the partner who's an ADHDer sometimes like with the forgetting and the time blindness and everything else and the low working memory and whatnot sometimes struggles to like make decisions and stuff, and so the other person's taken on that role as like the organizer, the reminder system, the emotional translator, the have you done this yet person. And I think like all of that kind of started out of love for them, but now this like one of the partners is like the one that's not the ADHD who is having to be all of these roles is starting to feel a bit of resentment in the sense of like there's a lot of emotional fatigue for them and like feeling very like, oh no, like I have to make all the decisions and there's decision fatigue. And the way that they described it to me was like, oh, I now feel like I'm a parent, not a partner. And that's now affecting the intimacy, right? Like in their relationship.
Like a caretaker role. I've seen that in clients as well, especially like when seeing couples where one is neurodivergent and one isn't. And because being neurodivergent, you're like as we said, rejection sensitivity, but also really struggle with emotional regulation and also have the tendency to go into a lot of shame spirals. Um, and as you said, starting with love, the partner does does take it as on like, oh, let me like help you. And then they
thing. And
realize
it's a
it's
lot. And it's hard because like they're trying to also not like put you to shame and stuff, but you're going to feel it when the conversation comes up. So then this particular couple were like, oh, like I feel the rejection sensitivity when my partner talks about these things, but then they're like, I don't know what else to do if not to talk to you about these things. And I was like, oh no.
yeah. But I think that's why it's very important if you are getting into a relationship as a neurodivergent person or you are dating someone who's neurodivergent, you figure out ways on how to self-soothe.
I think there's two parts to this as well. The first thing when we're looking at relationships is that little reminder of the fact that the ADHD partner isn't doing what they're doing on purpose, right? Most people with ADHD are not trying to hurt their partner, they're not being careless on purpose, but the impact still matters. And I think this is where things start to get a little bit tricky because the intent sometimes can be used as a shield. Like I didn't mean to forget. I'll try a little bit harder. But then like your partner's going to be like, "Okay, but you did do that again." So it's almost like how do you guys sit down together and start working on it again, like together, and like being okay with the fact that your partner is going to be affected by things that you do sometimes, and that's okay. Like they're allowed to be affected by what's going on.
Mm. They're allowed to be affected, but also it's about working on realizing that if they do bring up an issue with you, it's not necessarily about you as a person, which is what leads to the shame spiral, but it's more just an issue within the relationship.
Absolutely. And like yeah, and like taking accountability for like what's going on and then going, okay, what do we do? And like you don't have to do it alone. That's the whole point of a partnership, right? So it's like what does support actually look like? It's not doing everything for your partner. It's not you taking on everything and not talking to you, like if you're the ADHD partner, not talking to your non-ADHD partner about things. I think it's actually coming together and building those support systems together and like not relying on like memory or hints or they'll notice eventually or because ADHD and I just like not putting the blame on one thing or not letting one person take that like control, I guess.
And I think that also comes in terms of like impulsivity, because a lot of ADHDers, when they think something, they just want to say it
Yeah.
because if they don't say it, they're going to forget it. And that has happened to me quite some times where I would say something and then it can come off as insulting, and I don't clock
Or
that
you say something because it's
sometimes.
just like a matter of fact, like it's just a fact in your brain, and you're like, oh, I've just said this out loud, and you don't think about it. And I think this is where like the
Exactly.
education piece is so important, right? So if you have a partner who has ADHD, go and do the learning. Like, yes, you're listening to podcasts like this, which is fantastic. Go and read some books about it. Like The Year I Met My Brain is a great one. This is ADHD is another really great one. Dirty Laundry is another great one. And there's like I think there's this is it a game or a book called Fair Play? That's another really good one for people who are in relationship with someone with ADHD. It actually kind of helps you to organize like your tasks and stuff together, which is really cool. But like really learn about it, understand why your person does the things that they do, and then sit down together and like work through it. Because like having an explanation helps you to like reduce the resentment, but then it also means that you can resolve the issue together, right? Like, and that could mean that you're putting in real support systems like shared calendars. It could be that you have like external reminders together. It could be that you have a clear division of labor. It could be that you say things out loud even if it feels awkward, or you set aside time during the week to say things out loud. Or like I was talking about earlier, you set the timers, you put tell them a time that's a little bit earlier.
Yeah. And also just the act of learning about it for your ADHD partner can show huge amounts of care and also take away their burden of trying to explain everything to you.
I think the other thing that comes up in my head is that, like, yeah, they're not taking it personally on both ends. Like, if your non ADHD partner is giving you feedback, don't, again, it's like, it's not you that they're against or they're having an issue with. It is like just some of the systems that are, the way that you operate, probably. And that's okay. You can work through it. But also the other way around, like, if I'm doing something, it's not because I hate you.
Yeah, that's always a hard one to do because even as a therapist, that's the hard one for me where it's like if I tell someone about an issue I have with them and then they get offended, I'd be like, why are you getting offended? I'm just bringing up an issue about the relationship. But then when they bring it on me, I'm just like, oh no, I'm a horrible person.
It feels like a bag of contradictions, really. Because it's like, I can do the thing, but you can't do the thing, but I can do the thing. But it also depends on my mood, which fluctuates. Have fun. I think the takeaway is just clear communication, right? Clear communication and then implementation of things and get creative with the way that you do things. Be practical about it. But it really does come down to understanding. So yeah, like go back together and like as an ADHD, the thing that you can do within your own relationship is understand yourself better. So yeah, your partner is learning about ADHD and trying to understand how things work. But for yourself, go and learn about your symptoms. How do they show up in your everyday life, not just in your relationship? How do they show up in your everyday life? And then, yeah, as a result of that, how might they be showing up in your relationship? Then take those things to your partner and be like, okay, this is the stuff that I know that you've sort of brought up or that I think I'm doing that might be impacting us. Can we work on this together? And if you can't figure it out, that's all right. That's why people like us exist. Come into coaching and be like, I struggle with XYZ. So many of my clients that come in for ADHD coaching come in because, yeah, things are impacting them, but it's either impacting their family or their relationship with somebody. And then we like provide individualized support to be like, okay, we can put these things in place that you can do on your own or things that you can do with your partner. Or I have people who aren't even ADHDers, but they have a partner who's ADHD or neurodivergent, and then they're like, how do I support my partner better? And they come in for that too. So, or like couples counseling, I know that Psycho and like Glamour in our practice do that work, and discuss how you can put practical strategies in place. So it's like, really at the end of the day, it is coming down to like listening openly, speaking openly, and then implementing, like understanding neurodivergence as a whole, and then putting in practical strategies, which is like, it feels like a lot of steps, which is true. But like, you know what? All relationships are hard work.
All relationships are hard work. And even like whether you're neurodivergent or not, I mean, the messaging is the same, where it's like trying to understand your partner's world, how their brain works, what they're struggling with, and figure out a way that works for the both of you and not just one of you.
100%. Yeah, like the principles are more or less the same, right?
Yes, being in a relationship when you're neurodivergent or with a neurodivergent person, when you don't understand their world, is difficult. But I would also suggest when you are having these conversations is not make it so serious.
Yeah.
Like make it into a cute date night, have like moments and check-ins of connection rather than this is a problem we need to solve. um, that tends to help take away yeah, it takes away the shame aspect of it, or like the fear aspect of having these difficult conversations.
And that's just how relationships, I think, generally should go, right? Whether, again, you're in a neurodivergent relationship or not, making things fun, interesting. And again, it's like you and your partner against the problem, not you and your partner against each other. Like that concept just goes a really long way. There's something really comforting about it. I think the main takeaway from this episode is we've covered a lot and very little and a lot all at once somehow. I think the main takeaway from this is that like a healthy ADHD relationship or a relationship with an ADHD isn't about perfection. It's more about honesty and repair and systems that work for both people.
And also, you might be surprised because a lot of the clients who come in who have a neurotypical partner, once they start implementing all the scaffolding or the tricks that you need with an ADHD brain into the household, the neurotypical partner also tends to benefit from it because you are paying attention to your patterns, you're incorporating things like rest and regulation and things like that. So could be a win-win as well.
But no, if you do have any other questions around relationships and how to navigate this, or you're looking for some therapy around, whether if it's individually and wanting to, get some coaching around things because things are affecting your relationship, or needing some couples coaching uh, and counseling, come and see us. We exist for this reason. Trust me, and it's not like you need to go. I feel like with my ADHD, like couples or like the coaching around that sort of stuff, I feel like it doesn't actually take that many sessions to get things down pat.
Yeah, no, because as you said, it's really just about getting them to speak each other's language, and also them under like the ADHDers understanding their neurodivergence and having like finding a way to explain that to their partner, or their partner learning with the client as well. One thing I do want to say though to the ADHD listeners is to remember that your ADHD is actually real. Your struggles are valid, and at the same time, you are still responsible for your impact in relationships. Accountability isn't self hatred, isn't self abandonment. It's showing effort that your partner can actually feel. It's saying, I forgot, and here's what I'm doing so it doesn't happen again and it doesn't affect you as much.
Yeah. And for the partners that are listening, loving someone with ADHD should not mean disappearing yourself. You're allowed to have needs. You're allowed to ask for consistency. You're allowed to say, this isn't working for me. Can we work on it together? ADHD explains behavior, it doesn't erase a responsibility. Being in a relationship with an ADHD is a dance, sometimes clumsy, sometimes stunning, always evolving, but it starts with compassion.
Yeah, compassion for your partner, but also compassion for yourself. This isn't about fixing anyone, it's about understanding what both of you need to feel safe and seen.
We see you, we've been there, and you're not alone in this. See you next time on Girls That ADHD. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening.
And remember to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Girls That ADHD for more ADHD realness, to ask us questions, or slide into our DMs with episode ideas.
And sign up to our newsletter at girlsthatadhd.com to stay updated on new episodes, toolkits, workshops, and book in ADHD coaching if you're ready to work with your brain, not against it.
And if you found this episode useful, leave us a quick review because it really does help us reach more ADHDers and help them find us in the chaos.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye!